I watched her hug a stranger at the coffee shop, a man, laughing, completely at ease, and something inside me twisted. Not because she was unfaithful, not because she didn't love me, but because she loved everyone with the same fierce authenticity she claimed to love me with. And some of those people were men. As a lesbian who'd just begun accepting my girlfriend's bisexuality, I was terrified that her open heart meant an open door that loving without boundaries meant. I could be replaced by someone who fit the world's default story better. For months, I fought against the very thing that made her extraordinary, confusing biphobia with boundaries and insecurity with protection. I was wrong. And the day I finally understood why it changed everything about how I see love, identity, and what it truly means to be free. I met Elena at Pride, both of us volunteering at the community tent. She was helping a nervous teenager find resources, her hand gentle on their shoulder, her voice steady and affirming. Her bi flag pin caught the sunlight as she moved, and when she looked up and smiled at me, I felt the ground shift. We talked for hours that day about coming out stories and chosen family and the particular loneliness of being queer in spaces that don't quite see you. She'd known she was bisexual since high school, had navigated the exhausting dance of being not gay enough for lesbians and just confused to straight people. I'd come out as a lesbian at 20, never questioned it, never looked back. I love who I love, she said simply. Gender's never been the determining factor for me. Connection is. I found it beautiful, brave even. Within weeks, we were inseparable. She understood things I'd never had to explain, the weight of heteronormative assumptions, the joy of finding your people, the complexity of existing in a world that barely acknowledged our love existed. But slowly, I noticed things that made my stomach clench. The way she hugged her male friends warmly, unselfconsciously. The casual mentions of past boyfriends alongside past girlfriends. The ease with which she moved between queer and straight spaces. Chameleon-like in a way I'd never mastered. At first, I pushed the discomfort down. This was biphobia, I told myself. Internalized prejudice I needed to unlearn. But the feelings festered, because every time she laughed with a man, every time she mentioned a male colleague or stopped to help a guy who'd asked for directions, a voice whispered, she has options you can't compete with. She could choose easier. She could choose normal. The breaking point came at her company's holiday party. I'd been anxious about going the only queer couple in a sea of straight faces. The inevitable questions about how we met. The performance of being visible while trying not to make anyone uncomfortable. Elena was radiant, introducing me proudly as her girlfriend, her hand never leaving mine. I should have felt secure. Instead, I watched her interact with David, a colleague she'd mentioned before, and felt something ugly unfurl inside me. They were laughing about an inside joke, his hand briefly touching her arm. Completely innocent, completely platonic, but in my mind, it became evidence. See, she connects with men so easily. She could have this without the stares, without the explanations, without the fear. I was quiet on the drive home. When she asked what was wrong, I unleashed months of accumulated anxiety. Do you ever miss it? Being with men? Having a relationship that doesn't require coming out to every new person you meet? She pulled the car over, turned to face me. Are you seriously asking if I want to be straight? I'm asking if this is enough for you. If I'm enough for you? Her eyes filled with tears. My bisexuality isn't about comparing you to men. It's about being honest about who I am. I chose you. I choose you every day. Not because you're a woman or despite you being a woman, but because you're you. But you could choose easier, I whispered. Easier isn't the same as better. And thinking I'd leave you for a man because it's simpler is no different than straight people. Thinking bisexuality is just a phase. You're putting the same boxes around me they do. The accusation stung because it was true. I'd taken my insecurity and dressed it up as concern, had let biphobic stereotypes that bisexual people are inherently unfaithful, constantly torn, unable to commit poison something real. We didn't break up that night, but something fractured. I couldn't stop monitoring her interactions, creating hierarchies of threat in my mind. Women I could handle, we were on equal footing, but men? Men represented everything I couldn't be, everything society said was normal and right. Elena grew exhausted with my questioning. Do you realize what you're doing? She asked one evening after I'd made a comment about her male coworker. You're treating half the population as potential threats. You're making me responsible for your insecurity about my sexuality. I just need to know you're committed to this. To us, to being queer. Being bi is being queer, she said sharply. I'm not half straight or confused or 1 foot out the door. I'm bisexual. That's my identity, whether I'm single, dating you, or dating anyone else. It doesn't change based on my partner's gender. She grabbed her jacket. I love you, but I can't keep defending my sexuality to you while also trying to build a relationship with you. You need to figure out if you actually believe bisexual people can be faithful, committed partners. Because right now, you don't act like you do. After she left, I forced myself to sit with the ugliness I'd been avoiding. Was I really afraid Elena would cheat? Or was I afraid that her bisexuality made our relationship somehow less legitimate? That if she could be attracted to men, our queerness was diminished? That I was just a stop on her journey to eventual heteronormativity? I thought about the lesbian spaces I'd been in where bisexual women were whispered about, excluded, treated as tourists. I'd nodded along, stayed silent, benefited from that gatekeeping. Now I was replicating it in my own relationship, wielding biphobia like a shield against my own insecurity. I started reading bisexual writers, experiences different from mine, the specific challenges of being attracted to multiple genders in a world that demands you choose one. I joined a support group for partners of bisexual people, listened to others work through similar fears. Slowly, painfully, I began to understand Elena's bisexuality wasn't about me. It wasn't a threat to our relationship or a commentary on my adequacy. It was simply part of who she was, as fundamental as my lesbianism was to me. When I finally reached out, she agreed to meet at the park where we'd had our first date. I didn't make excuses. I've been biphobic, I said plainly. I've treated your sexuality like a problem to manage instead of an identity to respect. I've let my insecurity become prejudice, and I'm sorry. She listened as I explained what I'd learned, how I'd traced my fears back to their root. The internalized belief that queer love was inherently more fragile than straight love, that we had to work harder to keep our partners because the world offered them constant exits. But that's not true, I said. People cheat in straight relationships. People leave lesbian relationships. Faithfulness isn't about what genders you're attracted to. It's about choice, commitment, integrity. You've shown me those things every day. I just couldn't see it through my fear. Elena reached for my hand. I'm not going to wake up one day and decide I want a man instead of you. That's not how this works. My capacity to love people of different genders doesn't make my love for you less specific, less real, or less permanent. I love you, not women, not people who aren't men, you, this specific person. Your terrible jokes and your fierce loyalty and the way you cry at dog videos. Something released in my chest. She left me not as a representative of a gender, but as myself irreplaceable. Not because I was a woman, but because I was me. Learning to love Elena without trying to shrink her identity didn't happen overnight. It required confronting my own biphobia, unlearning toxic narratives about bisexual people. And accepting that trust isn't about controlling who someone finds attractive. It's about believing in the choices they make every day. The woman who loves without labels taught me that freedom isn't about fitting into neat categories. It's about being seen fully and loved anyway. She showed me that queer love isn't made less queer by one partner's bisexuality, and that the deepest security comes not from limiting someone's identity, but from trusting their commitment. If you're a lesbian dating someone bisexual and struggling with similar fears, know this: your insecurity is valid, but it doesn't have to become prejudice. Bisexual people in same-gender relationships aren't half straight or waiting for something better. They're fully queer, fully committed, and fully capable of choosing you every single day. Are you navigating similar feelings in your own relationship? Join the conversation below and share your experience. Or reach out if you need support in working through biphobia and building trust across different queer identities.